Have you ever felt like life has taken more from you than it has given? Perhaps you've faced losses that seemed too great to recover from a career you poured your heart into that fell apart. It's relationships that ended before they could fully bloom. Health challenges that left you feeling weak and worn, or dreams that seemed to vanish into thin air. Maybe there are days when you wake up and wonder, will I ever get back what I've lost? Will I ever feel whole again? If this resonates with you, let me tell you something that could change everything. God is not finished with you. In fact, He is far from done. He sees every tear you've shed, every moment of pain, and every sigh of despair. And He is already working behind the scenes to restore what you thought was gone forever. This is not a promise that He will give you back the exact same thing in the same way, because God's ways are far beyond our understanding. The restoration He offers is often more beautiful, more abundant, and more perfect than anything we could imagine. When we lose something, it's natural to grieve. It's human to mourn the life we thought we'd have, plans we thought we'd fulfill, and the blessings we believed were ours. Yet in the midst of that grief, God invites us to trust Him, to believe that He can take our brokenness and turn it into a story of redemption. He can restore not just what was lost, but also the joy that vanished, the hope that was dimmed, and the strength we thought we'd never regain. Restoration is a spiritual principle, and it requires faith. It requires us to believe that even in the darkest season, God is moving. Even when everything seems gone, He is already orchestrating a way for restoration to come into our lives. Sometimes, we can be tempted to compare our losses with those of others, wondering why they seem to flourish while we struggle. But God's restoration is personal. He knows your journey, your heart, and your story in ways that no one else ever could. The loss you've faced is not wasted. The trials you've endured are not meaningless. Every hardship, every tear, every sleepless night is part of a greater narrative that God is writing, a narrative that is leading you to a greater place of fulfillment than you ever imagined. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. It must have seemed like all hope was gone. But Joseph trusted God, and in time, God restored everything he had lost, and more. He didn't just return to a life he had before. He rose to a position of power, influence, and purpose that allowed him to save nations. The lesson is clear. God's restoration goes beyond simple recovery. It transforms, elevates, and surpasses our expectations. And this is exactly what He wants to do in your life. You may be thinking, but I've lost too much. I've been through too much pain. Maybe I'm beyond restoration. I want you to hear this today. You are never beyond God's reach. His love is limitless. His grace is endless. His power to restore knows no bounds. There's no situation too broken, no circumstance too hopeless, no loss too great for God to redeem. Restoration often begins quietly, in ways we don't immediately notice. It could start with a healed heart, a renewed sense of peace, or the gentle reassurance that you are not alone. It may be a new opportunity that appears unexpectedly, a friendship that brings fresh encouragement, or a moment of clarity that guides you toward the next step. The key is to remain faithful, patient, and attentive to God's work in your life. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know the full plan. God is faithful, and His timing is perfect. He is already preparing your restoration, even if you can't yet see it. And here's something even more incredible. God doesn't just restore what was lost. He restores it in ways that often exceed our expectations. He brings joy where there was sorrow, hope where there was despair, strength where there was weakness, and abundance where there was scarcity. What was once broken can become beautiful. What was once empty can overflow, and what was once lost can return in even greater measure than before. This doesn't mean that life will suddenly be free of challenges. Restoration doesn't erase the past, but it redeems it. Every setback, every heartbreak, every disappointment becomes part of the testimony of God's faithfulness. It becomes a story of resilience, courage, and divine intervention. Your past does not define you. Your losses do not determine your future. God's restoration is about moving forward with confidence, knowing that He is turning every situation around for your good. So, how can you embrace this restoration in your life? First, surrender your losses to God. Lay them at His feet. Give Him your pain, your regrets, and your worries. Trust that He can take what is broken and make it whole. Second, cultivate faith. Believe that God is working even when you don't see immediate results. Faith is the bridge between loss and restoration. Third, remain patient. Restoration often unfolds over time, and God's timing is perfect. Every season of waiting is preparing you for a greater blessing. Fourth, open your heart to receive. Sometimes we resist restoration because it doesn't come in the form we expect. God's ways are higher than ours, and His plan for your life is far better than anything you could design for yourself. Finally, give thanks. Celebrate every small victory, every moment of progress, and every sign of God's hand at work. Gratitude opens the door for even more blessings to flow into your life. Remember, you are not defined by what you have lost. You are defined by the God who restores, redeems, and renews. Your past may have been painful, but your future is full of promise. God is already at work, weaving every thread of your story into a masterpiece of hope, joy, and victory. So hold on, keep trusting, and watch as God restores what you thought was lost in ways you cannot even imagine. The restoration He brings will be greater, richer, and more beautiful than you ever dreamed possible. It's time to step into that restoration, embrace it with faith, and walk boldly into the new season God has prepared for you. No matter what you've lost, no matter how impossible it may seem, God's promise remains true. He will restore, redeem, and renew your life. Believe it, receive it, and celebrate it. Your miracle is on its way.